Good morning, children. Today in English literature, we will be studying chapter number 7, Raoul the Owl. It's another very interesting chapter, children. In this, you will be getting to know about the unique gift within us. Just like in the chapter Jaldi's Gift, children, over here we are going to see how we discover the uniqueness within us, the speciality within us, and overcoming all the obstacles through the experience of Raoul the Owl. Okay, children, on page number 96 there is a starter activity which I will be going through right now, and then you will be doing it in the textbook itself. Okay, in this activity there are two eminent personalities mentioned, Louis Braille and Kalpana Chawla. Okay, so they are very renowned personalities, children. Let's see what they have to say about themselves. When I was 3, I was playing with sharp instruments in my father's shoe workshop. I hurt my eye and steadily grew blind. But I did not despair. I went to a school for the blind in Paris. The school had only 14 books for the blind to read on their own. They had large letters that were raised up on the page. Since the letters were so big, the books were large and bulky. More importantly, the books were very expensive to buy. I could feel each letter, but it took me a long time to read an entire sentence. By the time I reached the end of a sentence, I almost forgot what the beginning was about. Instead of giving up on reading, I invented a system in which letters are written as raised dots. This system would enable hundreds of blind people to read. It is called Braille. So Louis Braille invented the Braille system of reading for the blind. It has completely changed the picture of education for the blind children. Children, you need to understand how sometimes obstacles can either put us down or raise us to another level, and that's what you need to take it to your advantage, just like Louis Braille and Kalpana Chawla. When I was a child, we lived in a town which was one of a handful of towns which had flying clubs at that time. My brother and I would sometimes be on our bikes looking up, which you shouldn't be doing, at pushback aeroplanes, trying to see where they were headed. Every once in a while, we'd ask Dad if we could get a ride in one of those planes. With hard work and determination, I became an astronaut at the NASA and finally got to fly. So this was Kalpana Chawla. With her determination, her aspiration, her dream to fly, she made it a reality. Similarly, children, there can be a number of obstacles. These all accounts are put down in paragraphs, but then it's not that easy. These are long-term hard work, determination, patience, efforts of all these people. So along with obstacles. So children, you need to take every obstacle to your advantage. You need to take every difficulty and opportunity. Okay, children, so like that, there are a few questions based on the experience of these personalities. You need to do it in your textbook itself. Okay? Children, now we will be reading the chapter. Raoul the Owl. On an old hollow tree near the edge of the thick woods lived a family of owls. On the topmost branch lived the youngest owl, Raoul. He was polite and cheerful. But he had a serious problem for an owl. He couldn't see in the dark. Every evening his family would wake up, yawn and stretch and start out. Raoul would blink and peer and strain his eyes, but all remained dark. When the moon was up, he could dimly see the shapes of trees, but he had to fly very slowly and close to the ground. Since it was impossible for him to hunt, he had to go home early and wait to be fed. Okay, children, so over here you see that there is this tree in the forest, a hollow tree where the family of Raoul resides. And on the topmost branch, the youngest member, that is Raoul, was living, and Raoul was an owl, and owl are nocturnal, that is they are the night birds. They probably hunt and do all their activities at night. But on the contrary, Raoul had a problem at night. He would blink and strain his eyes but could not see anything. He had great difficulty in seeing at night, and it was really difficult for him to fly out at night because there was fear of banging into something. So he would fly close to the ground, and because of his cautiousness about flying, he could hardly hunt or find something to eat. So he was dependent on his family members to get him something to eat. Okay, so that's a very strange situation, children, because all owls are supposed to be the night animals, and they can see at night, they can hunt at night, and Raoul was a total exception over here. His brothers brought him some dinner in turns. However, they constantly laughed and hooted at Raoul's inability to hunt. Raoul hated this. At last, Raoul could not stand it any longer. "This won't do," he said firmly to himself. "I will have to change my habits," and then there he made up his mind to do something daring. Okay, so children, in our lives, we have many such instances where we need to make important decisions, where we need to make life-changing decisions, or some really vital, important tasks we need to undertake. So that's the stage, that's the point in the life of Raoul, where he realizes he needs to cross over this obstacle of inability to see at night. He needs to do something daring. He needs to take some other step, maybe some other alternative. If he cannot see at night, he should find some other way to feed himself, to look after himself, because he was not quite happy with the assistance provided by his brothers. They did get food in turns for him, but then they would mock at him, make fun of him, and he was constantly getting really depressed about it. So he wanted to find an alternative, do something daring. He decided to sleep all night and wake up in the morning. When the family heard of the decision, mother and father were very upset. "Whoever has heard of such a thing?" Mother cried and almost fainted. "Disgraceful," said the father. "None of our family has ever done such a thing." Rufus, one of the middle brothers who read a lot, said, "No, Arctic owls hunt diurnally, that is during the long daylight hours." "We are not Arctic owls," cried father coldly. The older brothers laughed raucously. Maybe he isn't even an owl." "He is your brother," father said. He turned to Raoul and said gently, "If you insist, you can try." "But remember to be a good owl always." Okay, so children, over here you see that Raoul has finally taken a decision for himself. And what is his decision? That he wants to go out in the daylight. Okay, now you might find this conversation between the family very funny, hilarious, that probably why are they having so much hesitance in sending Raoul outside during daylight? Because that's not what the usual owls do. The usual owls take pride in hunting in the night. They know that they are the ones probably blessed with the skill, blessed with the trait of kind of hunting at night, the ability to see clearly at night. And they were feeling that Raoul was going out of the way, was going out of the league, and was not something right. They did not explore the other side. They completely condemned the other side, the other option, which Raoul wanted to take up. So the mother was probably very, very scared. She was almost fainting. Father thought it to be a very shameful, disgraceful act, and the brothers were making fun of him. Though they even tried to convince the parents by saying that the Arctic owls are the ones who hunt during the daylight, but then that also didn't console the parents. But then, looking at the brothers mocking at him, they thought that maybe they can give Raoul a chance to explore his desire, try it once. So they agreed to it, but asked him to be a good owl always. Father patted mother's wings and whispered, "Don't worry, my dear, he'll soon change his mind." The following morning, when his family was going to bed, Raoul got up, stretched and stepped outside. He sidled out on the branch and looked about. "Wow," he shouted. He could see everything, and there was so much to see, a bright hot yellow thing in the sky. The forest, brown and green, faraway meadows, green, full of flowers. Raoul spread his wings and flew out. So if you see, children, such a beautiful experience finally Raoul was blessed with. Why? Because he explored. He dared to take a decision. He dared to try. Sometimes, children, these kind of opportunities are in our lives as well, where we need to explore. We need to see all the options available and try everything to see what is best suited for us. He did fly out at night. It didn't help. He finally convinced his parents and flew in the morning, and he discovered the flowers, the sun in the sky, and he was all, excited about it, and he was flying higher and higher. What a pleasure for him. What a joy for him. And finally, all this he was blessed with because he took up the courage to cross over his obstacle. He had never seen so many colors in his whole life. He felt so good that he flew upside down and did barrel rolls and loop-the-loops. By noon he was hungry. He spied a small mouse behind an old barn. He swooped down on it. "Oh, please, Mr. Hawk, let me go," squeaked the sad little mouse, holding his little hands together. Raoul's heart was touched. He let the mouse go free. "But why do you call me a hawk?" he asked. The shivering mouse slowly looked up and said, "Good heavens, you are not a hawk, you are an owl. What on earth are you doing in daytime? Are you crazy? I don't think you ought to be so rude after all I could have eaten you." "I am sorry," said the mouse. "Please forgive me, but I have never heard of an owl flying during day." Raoul explained everything. "This is the bravest thing I have ever heard of," said the mouse. "Thanks, but I am very hungry," cried Raoul. "My name is Bertram. What is yours?" asked the mouse. Okay, so Raoul started on his exploration and he discovered many, many colors, children. During daytime, sometimes we fail to notice so many things, children. Sometimes walk out, children, especially in these days of COVID-19. We are all inside our houses. Try seeing outside the window. Try going to your balcony or veranda, and you will see outside the colorful trees, the colorful flowers, and you'll be more grateful for it. For Raoul to observe it all of a sudden for the first time was such a blessing, was such a pleasure that he was overjoyed, and he was going up and down, he was taking rollouts, and finally he was very, very hungry. He spotted one of the mouse over there and he wanted to hunt it. So he swooped down at the mouse, but then the mouse started yelling, shouting, "Please, kind of leave me, don't eat me up, kind of spare me." And then Raoul probably had pity upon him and decided that he won't be eating him and would spare him. And in that conversation, the mouse had addressed Raoul as a hawk. "Mr. Hawk, please don't eat me up." So Raoul just had a query that why did he call him a hawk? So when the mouse probably saw properly, then he saw it was not a hawk, it was an owl. A hawk is a bird of prey, and during the daytime, and the mouse had probably misjudged it to be a hawk, but then it was an owl, and he was quite surprised. How come in the morning daylight an owl is outside? And he said, "Are you crazy that you are outside just now?" Though it hurt Raoul little bit, because he had spared the life of the mouse, and he should be little bit polite to Raoul. So in that conversation, Raoul finally explained everything to the mouse, and the mouse found it to be the most daring and bravest thing he had ever witnessed. That how come something like this can happen? You took up such a challenge to come out during daylight when no other owl in the whole world has ever done it. So he was thought it to be one of the bravest tasks. He introduced himself. He was Bertram, and he wanted to be the friend of Raoul. "Raoul, nice to meet you, Bertram. Will you eat cheese?" asked Bertram, hurrying back from the barn. Raoul pecked at it. Too sticky." "How about corn?" asked Bertram, bringing kernels from his winter store. "Oh, too hard." "Aha!" cried Bertram. "You are a bird, aren't you? What about some bird seed?" Bertram ran into the big house beyond the barn and returned with a discarded box of bird seed. "Delicious!" Raoul cried. After lunch, he took Bertram for a ride on his back. The mouse explained to him about the flowers, bees, and many other things. By evening, Raoul was ready to go home. The two friends promised to meet again. What a beautiful encounter, right, children? What a beautiful meeting. It is such a, kind of ironical friendship over here, because usually the owl tend to, hunt the mice, and over here they have become friends because of such a polite, generous, and friendly nature of Raoul. He ended up becoming the friend of Bertram, and Bertram, on the contrary, also offered his full loyalty in his friendship. He brought cheese for him, he brought corn for him, and finally the thing which came to the taste of Raoul were the bird seeds, and he really enjoyed it. They went on a journey outside, they flew across, gaining knowledge about the flowers, the bees, enjoying their journey, enjoying their new friendship, and finally decided to meet again some other time. He met his family next morning as they came in. "My poor boy," said Mother, embracing him, "you must have had a terrible time." "No," said Raoul cheerfully, "it was fun." "You must be starving. Here, eat this lovely mouse Father got for you." "Mouse?" cried Raoul. "That would be awful. My best friend is a mouse." "Oh, the sun is affecting my child's brain," cried Mother as she again got ready to faint. Raoul politely showed his family the box of bird seeds and flew off into the sunrise. Bertram was waiting. They met families of robins and rabbits. The sun shone brightly. By noon, Raoul said, "Bertram, perhaps Father and Mother are right. I cannot see too well now." "Now don't be hasty. You have done very well so far. I think you are not used to the sunlight. Even the people in the big house are dazzled by too much sunshine." "Are they?" asked Raoul. "What do they do about that?" Bertram snapped his finger. "I know, just wait here." After some time, he came out of the hole from the big house junkyard, dragging a pair of toy sunglasses. Bertram helped him wear it by tying the earpieces together with grass. "This is wonderful," said Raoul. So you see how overjoyed Raoul is, crossing one obstacle and the other, crossing all the barriers. That's what happens. In this chapter, there is such a fine example of determination, patience, and continuous hard work, continuous dedication. Raoul over here, children, kind of passed all the obstacles which were in his path. He could not see during the night time. Finally explored the daytime. His family were making fun of him. His brothers were making fun of him. His mother probably wanted to discourage this. His father was not very supportive about it. But then he proved them wrong. He proved his ability. He proved his strength. He proved his skill to them. And how did he do it? By taking up the challenge. Right, children? So finally in this passage, they are trying to tell children that how his mother was so worried, wanted to offer him a mouse which they had caught. But he said, I have finally become the best friend of a mouse. My best friend is a mouse. I can't hunt it down. I can't eat it. And he offered them the bird seeds which he had, got it from Bird Tram. And they were quite surprised, because it is quite surprising for a new owl to go all of a sudden in the daylight and get something so good. And finally he went about to meet his friend again. He shared about his conversation with his parents, how he was also kind of getting convinced maybe daytime is not the right time. But then the mouse offered him a sunglasses, and he was now very, very convinced that these sunglasses are kind of not giving glare to his eyes, and he's very comfortable in doing it in the daylight also. It is soothing. Days flew by happily. One Sunday at dusk, as Raoul got home, he heard his family talking to the neighbors. Our Raoul flies in the sunlight. First owl to do it ever. Real genius. Nothing can keep a good owl down. Raoul slipped into his bed, content, singing, "Do-it-it-do-hoo." So children, over here you see how the experience of Raoul was welcomed by everyone once he was successful. He took up the courage, crossed the obstacles, and finally when he heard his family speaking about him, praising him to the neighbors, he felt so overjoyed. That's what happens. Once all the obstacles are crossed, people talk about us. We ourselves feel so happy and glad about it, and we feel successful. We feel like winners. Winners of what? Winners of discovering our own self. Winners of proving to our own self first, and then making everyone around us glad. First of all, who was the first person to benefit? The first person to benefit was Raoul himself. He himself got the blessing of, seeing the entire world in the daylight. He himself got the blessing of finding such a good friend. He himself got the blessing of exploring something never ever done before, right? And then secondly, he made his family, his brothers, his neighbors glad, right, children? So children, this lesson is definitely giving a lot of moral values to us, and you should be going through it again once at home. Read through the chapter and then go through the question answers. A few of the question answers we will be writing in the notebook. Which questions have to be written in the notebook, I will be messaging you, and so you can go through all the answers which I'm sharing in the PDF, but you will be writing the ones which I'm messaging you, right, children? Thank you so much, children. Have a nice day.